father of four. He's our elder in our Rwandese fellowship. He's a man with a vast experiences when it comes to interviews because of the so many positions he has held in the past at Morgan Stanley, doing it himself as a private person, and also at his current position. So his skills and when he talks about what he's going to present, it is something that is as passionate at his heart, and he has done it before, and will always do it again. He wants to empower us, share with us the experience that he has, so that as we face these problems of a lockdown, the problems of interviews being made redundant, so it becomes hard if you don't have any skills that you can apply when you get a chance or an opportunity to do an interview. So we are happy, Elder, you have been able to accept to share with this group. And it's not even to accept, because you're always passionate about the youth, you're passionate about the young people. That is your desire to help them in any way possible and equip them with the skills that you can be able to help us, all of us. So before we start, we will have, I don't know if there are some people who are going to give us a special item. If they are ready, if not, then we will have a word of prayer, and then we can start. Do we have somebody who is going to give us a special item of prayer, song? Right. So with that silence, let's just have a word of prayer, and then we continue with the elder. Our Father and our God, we want to thank you so much for being there for us. We have been looking forward to this day when we can come and listen, so that we can gain skills that can help us in our positions of leadership and positions of work, that those who don't have work can also acquire skills to know how to face interviews. These are issues that affect us on a daily basis. So help our young people as they listen, and help all of us to build this up, dear Father, that at the end, we may be able to gain from this presentation. I pray for the elder who is going to do the presentation. Use him, dear Father, as an instrument of instruction to us. Let your will be done. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. So, Elder Kalibu.
Amen, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Elder Sentenga. I've made a few of you co-hosts, yes. So you can basically bring in, admit people. And thank you for the introduction. I just want to make very, very brief introduction. As probably some of you know, I was born in Uganda. We're born as a refugee. That's where I grew up. We both were born in a refugee settlement. So I just want to tell you that I come from a very, very humble background, and even that is an understatement. Studied my secondary school in Kampala, Old Kampala Secondary School. Did my A-level at Makerere College, and then I went to university. By the time I went to university, actually, I was in 1984, 85. Only about 5% of the people in a secondary school would make it to the university. So I did maths for my first degree, and my postgraduate diploma. Actually, just before I come to that, I had already dreamed to come to UK and study here. When I finished my my undergraduate, I did maths. I got an opportunity to come and study postgraduate and master's. I wanted actually to study master's, but because I didn't have enough experience and had not yet finished university, the British government said they cannot give me master's. I have to do a postgraduate first. Now, the degree, the scholarship I got from the British government was actually intended for the people PhD lecturers, lecturers at University of Makerere coming to a PhD. So you can actually imagine how does a refugee get a scholarship to come to the UK, nothing paid, no sweat, no nothing. And I would like to, one day probably I'll get a chance to give you a testimony. Reason I'm saying this, I just want you to know that with God, everything is possible. And if you distance yourself from God, whatever you do will not be as successful as you want. Yeah. So with God, and I'm a product of miracles all the way from when I was born, being able to survive my young age, coming to secondary school, coming over here, and even settling here is all a miracle. But that is another. I'll share with you at one time when I get a chance. So we wanted, as we advertised, we wanted to do an interview. Let me first of all, we want to do improving your interview skills. One of the reasons I think this is very critical is some of us get invited to an interview and actually either we are not equipped to handle it properly, we actually lose out, or we don't get an offer. If you have been invited for any job interview, if you've been invited for a job interview, anybody who's been invited for a job interview can get a job. What the difference is how you perform at the interview. Yeah. So let's just get out. So if obviously there are some exceptions where they invite you not knowing that you're a Black person, and when you get there, they find you're Black, and they decide not to basically sort of treat you favorably. But otherwise, if you've been invited for an interview, that means you qualify for the job. Okay. So introduction I've done. So what are we going to cover? So we're going also to cover creating your personal brand. But I wanted really, because of the situation you're in now, to concentrate on this. And if we get time, we can do personal branding. So we're going to cover the purpose of an interview. We are going to cover types of interview, very briefly, high level, preparation, mindset and body language, performance, and then what I call SOARs or stars. Maybe some of you have heard of it. SOARs is basically the way you package your achievements in a story. So SOARs stands for situation, obstacles, action, and results. Stars is the same thing. We'll look at it later. Then how to handle open-ended questions, and then the salary expectation question. So why do we do interviews? Actually, if you look at it, the interview is the most important process for both the interviewer and the interviewee to actually determine if there's a fit. Yeah. And obviously, if training and coaching and preparation is actually very critical, because improves your chance to get a better job, a job that you love, and also have more income. So there are 3 and 4 C's for the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewer is looking for competence, compatibility, and chemistry. Are you able to do the job? Would you fit into the company ethos and the team? Are you somebody who can actually connect and gel within the team and the firm? The interview, on the other hand, is looking for the 3 the interviewers is looking for, but also you're looking for compensation. Would this job compensate me enough to actually join the company? Now, one thing I just wanted to say as well is I am not going to give you just a book, textbook presentations. I want to be practical. I'll be giving you examples, giving where I have done interviews and also where I have interviewed people. So in all of these, we'll have some practical examples that that we can actually use. So types of interviews. You have a screening interview. Screening interview is really an interview to cut down on the numbers of applications. So they have advertised maybe in the media and they've got lots of applications and do a screening interview. There is a group or panel interview where you go in, either you go in and you meet a panel of interviewers, or a lot of people, more interviewees come and meet more interviewers. There is also an informal chat. Just before I want to comment on informal chat. In an interview, there is no informal chat. If someone tells you come for an informal chat, that is an interview. Yeah, it may not lead to structural questions and stuff, but there is no informal chat in an interview. And if you're interested in the position, prepare yourself as if you're preparing for an interview. There's obviously a video interview. Nowadays, we do actually video interviews. One thing I want to talk about this is preparation is key. And for all these, preparation is key. And we are going to come to that. If you're going to do a video interview, make sure you're ready. What you don't want is after going to a Zoom interview and then you say, oh, we can't hear you. Can you hear me? Test your equipment. Test your equipment beforehand. If possible, get a colleague, a friend, who you actually test your equipment with to make sure they're working. The last thing you want is to your laptop not work, or I would actually say use a laptop, you don't use a phone, if possible. Your Wi-Fi not working, you don't have data. Maybe if you are using your phone as a Wi-Fi, make sure you are also the room you are in is not cluttered. It's critically important you don't have things hanging at the back. And also, the good thing about a telephone interview and a video interview is that you can actually have notes. You can have notepad, sort of written stickers on the wall, but you need to make sure you are looking into the camera. Talking about the camera, you need to position yourself in such a way that your face, you actually, people are not seeing the top of your head or they are missing part of your face. So all those are critical for a video interview. For a telephone interview, I'll come to that. There's also a sequential interview, face-to-face interview. Nowadays, there's no face-to-face until obviously, probably we'll have a face-to-face again. Assessment center, this is what we do when we are looking for graduates, we are doing graduate recruitment, and a telephone interview. Telephone interview, you have to regard it as also like a video interview. Dress up. Even if people cannot see you, don't do your interview in your gown. The way your physical preparation also prepares your mind, prepares your voice. And also, if I can say this, if you have a telephone interview, try to stand up. Your body, you need to prepare your body. Your body position needs to be perfect because you need to speak from your lungs. Anyway, we are going to get into maybe when we are talking the nitty-gritty of the interviews, we probably touch some of this. If you have a question, please write it. We'll have a chance for question and answer after this, and then just before the branding. Okay, so interview checkpoints. Before you attend an interview, I cannot actually emphasize enough preparation. Preparation is key. If you find yourself you haven't prepared for one reason or the other, see if you can reschedule the interview. Do not attend an interview when you are not prepared. I don't know if it was possible, I'll actually shout over the hill and tell you about this. So, things you need to do: research the organization, people, interviewers. One thing I want to say is, if you have a hiring manager and you know who it is, research on the hiring manager. Know who are going to interview you. If you don't have that information, get to the recruiter, to HR, and get that information. Look them up in LinkedIn, look the organization, their websites, their performance in terms of the financials. Then know the job details and how you match to that job specification. Establish what the selection process is. What you want to do is, you need to know, is this, how many interviews am I going to do? Roughly, how long is it going to take? What's the selection process, and all that type of stuff. Refine your introductory positioning statement and exit statement. It is very, very important for you to be able to prepare your introductory and positioning statement, and also at the end, the exit statement. We can talk about this in more detail later. Look at it, identify your unique selling points. You are competing with other people. What makes you unique? What makes you the ideal candidate for the position? And also select appropriate achievements in terms of, and put them in the SOARs and stars, and you're going to look at that. Prepare your high gain questions. Do not ever say, when they ask you, do you have questions? And say, no, I don't have questions. If you say you don't have questions, 90% you will not get the job. Yeah. Consider how you close the interview. Thanking the people and whatever. One thing I just wanted to say as well, when you are closing the interview, make sure you familiarize yourself, and we are going into that, with where you are being interviewed. You know where you are entering from and where you're going to come out of. I've seen people who, after the interview, because of some nerves and stuff, they actually start going into some offices, if there are offices around, instead of using the exit. So before the interview starts, familiarize yourself with the where, the room, how you get out, and also if you ask if there is, of course you have asked when you arrive about the conveniences and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So preparation. The interview success is about preparation, and I can't emphasize that again, mindset and performance. So let's go in more detail. In preparation, the first thing you need to do is actually become a detective. Look at the job description. Dissect it. Make sure, and if you look at it closely, you will actually have a clue of what question you're going to ask. Also, the other thing about being a detective in a job description is to make sure you match what they're asking for. Obviously, that means you've decided you are going to the interview, you're going to look to work for that company, you have done all that. So look at the job description. And the job description normally is in 4 sections. There's the overview that gives you the basic introductory to the job. There's the job role and responsibilities. That one, you need to look at it line by line, and also see how your skills and your qualifications match those the responsibilities. Obviously, there's also the qualifications, and also there's the wish list or desired attributes. Now, in your positioning statement, after you've understood this, you can actually format your answers or do your answers in such a way that they address, even before they ask questions, they address some of the roles and responsibilities and also their desired attributes. Okay, preparation again for the interview. What were? Determine the dress code prior to the interview. Yeah, can you hear me? Can somebody? I've seen that there is. Can you confirm if you can hear me, please?
We can hear you.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so determine the dress code prior to the interview. I have seen. Do not. You need to dress to be comfortable. Do not go and buy shoes and clothes that you normally don't wear just in preparation for the interview. Yeah, you need to dress to be comfortable. I've seen a lady who has come to an interview with the high heels, and she was in a rush. She comes in through you go and you pick her up from the reception, you go to the lift, you go up to where you are going to do the interview. And in most cases, by the way, most companies have their interview, their interview offices are normally like high up in their buildings. And she was going to get out, her high-heeled shoes got stuck in the lift, between the door and the lift, and broke. So please dress to be comfortable. It's not a fashion show. You need to be obviously smart, but don't overdress. Also, do not use a lot of perfume, aftershaves, and that type of stuff. As soon as you go in and everybody, you're gonna cover the whole room with your fragrance. Yes, use the antiperspiration. Maybe if your perfume or your fragrance is not that strong, you can use it, but don't overuse it. And if, in terms of dress, when you're in doubt, dress up one level. And this, you will be able to know what the dress code is. So they will tell you, HR will tell you. But the most important thing is keep calm and be prepared. Yeah. What to take with you are copies of your CV. Don't assume because you send the CV, everybody who is interviewing you will have the copy. So it's good to have a CV, copy of the CVs. Then references, if you need to give references, list of questions to ask, pen, notepad, samples of your work. If this is something like creational work, some people, are very creative and they have the samples of work to go and show, and also the job description. Second, thirdly, know how to get there. Plan your route. Arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Do not turn up 1 hour early or turn up when you are late. Remember, and also you want to remember the interview begins as soon as you enter the building. So be respectful to the reception. Everybody, even the porters, you need to be respectful and know that's where the interview has begun. Preparation. Obviously you've already known what they want, and what you need. When you have you've done your career, you have to have done your career that it matches what they want. Also, you prepared your source stories, and we're going to look at this. The interview. Let me talk about interview mindset. You need to go in a position of saying, I will get the job. Obviously, you don't have to be complacent, and you don't want to be to just but you need to go with the mindset that I can get this job. I'll get this job. So achieve the right focus. Center yourself. When you're sitting, if you're sitting, center yourself in a place where you can go to. But when you sit, you need to be able to say you are centered, where people or everybody can see you. Develop a positive perspective. You be positive. Even if they challenge you and they ask awkward questions, you need to be positive. Visualize yourself in the role. One thing I want to just say to add to this is that when you are going into the interview and you actually feel you have nerves and stuff, assume you're a consultant. The company needs something from you and you can offer it. When you go in with that perspective, you do not have, because you see, an interview is two-way. They want you and you want them. So it's not a one-sided. One thing that people don't remember is as if the company is doing them a favor. No, you are on an equal footing, and that's how you should say it. And then also believe in your strength and align them with the job, with the role. Be aware of the style, the chemistry, the culture for the company, and also put in the right energy into your message. Intonation, the way you, the way you say what you say. It's not what you say, it's also how you say it. And as I just put on the bottom there, it's all about reassuring the interviewer that you have what they need. Each time they ask something, consider what it is that they are really asking you. Tie it to the job, to the role. Yeah. So these are the SOAS. SOAS is the situation, objective, action, and result. So you need to be able to write your you basically you want to tell a story. All of us like a story. So whatever your achievements are, put them in a story. Define what the problem is, and then what your objective or your task is, then what you did to actually solve the problem and the results. If you actually nail those things, there is no reason why you can't get a job. And obviously, you need to give it the weight. Situation, don't go into a lot of detail. Yeah, talk about, let me probably give you, let me give you an example. When I went to this, the job, the current role I have, I did my interview last year, 2019, in April. And I didn't need the job. I didn't want a job. I wanted to be self-employed. And actually, one thing I want to just tell all of you guys, if you can actually be able to, to self-employ yourself or employ other people, even that's great. But so I had worked for Morgan Stanley for 19 years. I left the firm because my bosses in New York wanted to give my role or my position to somebody else who was their friend. And they started concocting a lot of, sort of stories and stuff. Anyway, I decided after 2 years trying to hang on to the job, I decided enough is enough, and I left. So when the city who I work for now came to me, they actually didn't know. This is how God works. They didn't know I had left the job, but they came and basically sort of, asked me if I can take a position. Anyway, to cut the long story short, when I went to the interview, I was invited for an informal chat by my current manager. I went there. We spent something like an hour talking about things and stuff. It wasn't structured. However, when I did 5 to 6 interviews. I did one interview with with the recruitment, one interview, a formal chat, as they put it, with my hiring manager, 2 interviews with some stakeholders, people who work with the business, and 2 more interviews with the business managing directors, 1 interview with the global head of commodities. So I had to basically sort of prepare my source in such a way that I can adjust them depending on whom I was talking to. So I'll give you one example. So while in 2015, in 2008, after the financial crisis, Morgan Stanley was forced to sell their physical oil business. I was heading electronic trading globally, and also production in terms of technology for EMEA, which is the EMEA, European and Asia markets, and also APAC, which is Asia and Pacific. So when I was the one who was supposed to work in terms of prepare, in 2008, we were told by regulators, we cannot continue having a physical oil business. Now, I was responsible for making sure we package the oil business in terms of support and critical flows, so that we can actually sell it to the to prospective companies. So I had to use that example as an achievement for me in my source. So situation, we have to get rid of physical business. Secondly, the situation, we can't keep it. We have, and for some of you who don't know, Morgan Stanley used to own actually a lot of the liners and some sort of refineries and that type of stuff. So we had to basically, it was a big business of part of Morgan of commodities business. So I say situation, we have to get rid of the physical oil business. It's a requirement by regulators. So there is nothing we can do about it. We have to get rid of it. The objective was to make sure the company didn't want to spend money. So I had to use the systems we have to be able to segregate the physical business and the futures business, because the physical business would be sold off, and also the action then go through what I did to separate those 2 businesses, and result, we were able to sell the business, and we were able to sell it in time, and the clients were happy with the work I've done. So that's some sort of source. So you need to be able to customize your achievements in some of in a similar situation. The other one, the other acronym they use is STAR, which is situation, detail the background, provide the context to where, when, the task, describe the challenge and the expectation, what needs to be done and why. Action, elaborate on your specific action. You need to talk about your role. A lot of people, and many people whom I have interviewed, they say we. We doesn't cut it. You need to be, you don't tell lies, but you need to be able to say what you did, because the interviewer is looking for what you did, not what the team did, because they are not giving a job to a team. So what did you do, how, and what tools did you use? Explain the results, accomplishment, recognition, savings, and quantity. And I can tell you, I had something like 5 source stories, which I actually used very, very effectively. So let's go to, let me just watch on the time. Oh, when you're invited for an interview, that is your chance to make the first positive impression. If you blow it up, you will never get a second chance to make a first impression. As they say, it's a first impression. So plan your first impression. Prepare, practice your positioning statement to create a good rapport with the interviewer. Just to give you, to give you some example, when I started Morgan Stanley, when I went for an interview in Morgan Stanley, the recruiter or the agency which sent me had sent everybody they had on their books. and Morgan Stanley had rejected them. And they had actually not wanted to send me because of my accent and I am Black. So they didn't think I can make it. I can actually succeed. But before I went, I made sure I researched the interviewer, the company who was the hiring manager, the company. I can tell you, when I got there, I went in, as soon as I walked into the building, marble floors and whatever, I looked and said, my goodness me, I don't think I'll get a job here. And sometimes there are those doubts, you know. So I went in the lift, met the hiring manager. We started talking. He had gone to University of London in King's College. I had gone to King's College. By the time we started talking, the interview was about a casual chat. Yeah, he put aside everything, all the questions he had prepared, and we started talking about King's College and that type of stuff. And I can tell you, within 5 minutes, I had got the job. 5 minutes. When I got out and called the agency and told them I had got a job, they thought, they actually didn't believe me. They thought I was, you know, so they had sent here 5, 6 people who had more experience than I had and had been rejected. So they decided to call me into their office, and then they spoke to my hiring manager secretly to see if what I was saying was correct. So I just want to emphasize the how aspect of doing your preparation. So make the real good impression of you, determine beforehand what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on, your career, and I know some of you are actually just students and probably don't have a long career behind yourselves, but you have education and that type of stuff. But in all you're going to say, you need to determine beforehand what you're going to talk about. Yeah, it's critically important. So the goals of the interview. The interview goals is to understand your experience, skills, and competence, determine your fit into the culture, and I think we talked about that. Assess personal chemistry, and compare you with other interviewees who is going to interview. Yeah, and the interviewee's goal is to showcase your experience, skills, and competence, present your interests and fit, establish a rapport quickly. You have 30 seconds to establish a rapport. That's a very short time. So if you do not prepare your positioning statement, you're going to lose your interviewers within 30 seconds to a minute. And then quietly assess the match with your needs. By the way, as I mentioned, interview is a two-way process. You can turn up on an interview, and within the interview, you actually know that you don't want the job, you don't want to work for the company, and that type of stuff. Now, if that happens, please do not become arrogant and stand up and walk away. You need to be professional, go through with the interviews, and basically, when you're coming from there, just say, you know, I don't want that job. I went to for an interview with the company, and I'll tell you the name of the company is Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse is a Swiss company, but it's international. I went there. As soon as I got in, and I was being interviewed, within the first 10 minutes of a 3-hour interview, I had determined I don't want to work for Credit Suisse. Now, I had a conflict. Do I waste 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 50 minutes sitting through these interviews, or do I just walk away? I decided to sit through the interviews, but as soon as I walked away, I actually told the guy, the hiring manager, I say, I don't think your position matches what I'm looking for. But you need to be professional. So, and he, as always say, there is only one interview question. And what is it? It is what do you want and what they need. It's always a balance. it's not the company doing you a favor. It's not you doing a company a favor. All of you have what the other need. Yeah. Okay. Interview mindset, and I think I touched on this a few minutes for a short time. Zoning, achieve the right focus, center yourself. I think I did say this. So let me talk about now the importance of communication. So there is the words you say, the body language, and voice. And you can actually see body language. I don't know if you can see the colors. Body language is 55, contributes 55% to your communication. Voice 38%, and your words contribute 7%. 7% of what you whatever you say contributes only 7%. So let's go in. So I talked about dress. Please dress comfortable and appropriate. Body language, non-verbal. You can see the section of non-verbal. Non-verbal is critical. The verbal contributes a very small percentage of the pie. The interview starts with a handshake. Make sure you have a good handshake. First of all, make sure your hands are not sweating. There is nothing as bad as going to greet somebody you're going to interview and you hold them and the hands are sweaty. Have a handkerchief, go to the toilet and get a tissue and dry your hands before you meet your interviewer. Yeah. So a good normal handshake for men. Please do not hold the hands too firm. It's also, that's negative. Normal handshake is make sure your grip is good, but it's not very firm or too firm. The other one is a handshake where somebody is just giving you a hand and almost withdrawing it as soon as you held it. Do not lose your offer or the interview at the door of the handshake. Yeah. Positive body language. Be open. Open means you're welcoming, you are attentive, you whatever, and closed the hand, sort of crisping your hand seems as if it is negative. And by the way, let me tell you, people don't just look out for them and say, oh, he has a closed body language, so he's not into the job. Those things are things we think about as interviewers. And even people, when they go, you say, how did you see him? You say, I don't know. And when you actually probably remember, you find that they had crossed legs, they had actually closed the body language, and they didn't have, use your palms, open palms, as they show welcoming, they show interest and that type of stuff. Relaxed facial expression. Yeah. Smile whenever you can. Don't over smile, obviously. The upright posture combined with the open facial expression, open body position. That means, use your hand gestures to your advantage. They actually speak volumes. Yeah. Make eye contact. And this, I need to say this. For us, some of us who grew up and in Africa, we have been told that looking somebody in the eye is rude. One thing we need to shed when you're going to an interview or whatever, I know you guys, you are young people, and many of you are young people. You need to make eye contact. Eye contact. If you don't make eye contact, you actually start from the back foot. Yeah. Especially for men, making eye contact is not gazing. Don't hold your eye contact too long until it becomes comfortable. Do not allow your eye contact to veer into a place of intimacy. And this is normally for the men. It's not a date for a partner. It's a date for a job. And actually, it's a debt as well, but it's not that type of debt. So, look, make eye contact, and if you think it's actually getting uncomfortable, look away and then come back and maintain your eye contact. Yeah. Use your hand to show approachability and openness. You can Google. Pay attention to your posture. Do not bend so much and do not lean back and lean back a lot. So I just wanted us to look very briefly on open-ended questions, and then we can have some questions. So the question you will get in maybe 99% of the interviews is, tell me about yourself. This is like giving you take the opportunity. You need to use it. This is a golden chance. This is a golden chance to market yourself. Some people think it is, how do I do this? Tell me about yourself. It's actually, describe yourself professionally. You don't have to go through or where you are born, all the schools and that type of stuff. Consider your answer to be a 30-second commercial or an elevator pitch. If you have prepared your positioning statement, you will nail this. And make sure you tie it back to the job you are being interviewed for. State your skills and experience and how they relate to the position. So basically what an interviewer is looking for is, who are you? Yeah. Now, if you start sort of wandering and going on for a tangent, you lose people. They want you to make a brief introduction of your professional self. What's your expertise? And what do you want? Why do you want this job? So those are the questions basically. If in your positioning statement, you can capture this, then you've nailed it. Who are you? What sort of skills do you have? Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is, don't assume your hiring manager has read your CV. There's so many times when I've gone to interview somebody and haven't had a chance because of work to read through the CV, or I've just glazed. So don't assume they have read your CV. Yeah. And then, what do you want this job? You need to be able to articulate why that job is, why you are a perfect fit for the job. You see, this tell me about yourself gives you control. This is the rare occasion where you have control to say whatever you want to say without having to respond to a question they're asking. So, take advantage of tell me about yourself. If you've prepared, this would not be a problem. So, an important place of authenticity: be genuine. Don't lie. Yeah, be genuine. Tell a story. If you tell a story, people will remember stories better than going through whatever. See if you can actually package your tell me about yourself in a story. Yeah. The stories, they basically communicate values, convictions, strength, and goals. If you tell a story, you can be sure they'll remember along when you're gone. The other question is, what do you want? Why do you want to work here? That's key. So there is nothing as bad as interviewing somebody who is just trying to, maybe they don't have a job, they have mortgage payments, they can't get a job they want, and they're coming in to just, get the job until they get something else. Yeah. So they want to see how you fit they want to see how you fit into company culture. If you are going to stay for a long time, or you are using it as a stepping stone, something else. I have interviewed the graduates, and believe me, this comes out very, very quickly, who want to maybe to go into the business and go into trading and whatever, but they want to come through technology. But then, you actually ask them, and that will come out. This is where that comes out if you have an ulterior motive or you are there for a short haul. How the position fits into your career plans, understand your priorities, and if you know about the company and if you've done your research. So do your homework. If you don't do your homework, forget even going for interview, unless you're using it as just a practice. So what are your greatest strengths? This is another question that is actually an opportunity for you to market yourself. Yeah. You know, if you have spent time finding out your and these selling points and whatever, we'll find it when you get more details when we go to create personal branding. So if you spend enough time discovering your key selling points, this will not be a problem because you know your strength. Practice to be confident and comfortable at selling yourself. It's awkward. Sometimes when you do it the first time, it's awkward. Yeah. And especially, let me talk to the ladies. Ladies are not very good at actually being able to sell themselves. They are not all of them, but most. Being able to sell yourself is not something we have seen it in most of the interviews I've done. The CV is good, but when you talk to them and tell me about your strength, they struggle. They think they are blowing their own trumpet. They actually don't want, they would rather talk about somebody else and, in a positive than talking about themselves. So you need to be able to sell yourself. You need, you need to practice. It's essential to practice selling yourself and out loud before the interview as your interview preparation. The more you practice it, the more it will become natural. So you need to practice selling yourself. You have achieved this stuff. You're not lying. You should be able to market yourself. So, and then the other dreaded question about what is your greatest weakness? Personally, I don't ask this question. And I don't like it. And a lot of people don't like it. However, if they ask it, you have to answer the questions. You can't avoid the question. There is also this whole idea of turn a positive into a weakness, like, I'm normally a perfectionist and blah, 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 blah. All that the interviewers will see through them. Raising red flags. Let me say, what's your greatest weakness? Oh, I struggle to get up in the morning. That's something you should not bring up in an interview. Or give a funny answer and make it a joke. You should not do it. You need to state a genuine weakness which does not lose you the job offer. The weakness that is outside the key responsibilities that they will not jeopardize the role, and demonstrate how you are working to address it. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, if the role I'm going for is nothing to do with leadership, I can say, I struggle with delegation. And that's a big weakness. I want to do things myself, because when I do it, if you want to be done perfect, you do it yourself. And then you need to be able to turn it around and say, however, I'm doing a course on delegation. My boss has given me, some of the responsibilities. I'm working on a project where I'm learning how to delegate. Be able to actually see that you know your weakness. Everybody has a weakness. If they say, what's your greatest weakness? And you say, I don't have any, that is being arrogant. Everybody has a weakness. But you need to choose a weakness that doesn't blow the job offer away. And then where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then sometimes you even want to, I've seen some people, you ask them a question and they feel like either if they're Christians, they want to go and pray and ask God to give them some some guidance on where they'll be in 5 years. Things change, and that's true. But if they say where we'll be in 5 years, you need to think about this well in advance. Yeah, they want to know your long-term career. Now, if you are using this job, if you don't see yourself with the firm for 5 years, don't tell them, no, I'm not going to last here for 5 years. And as I just mentioned here, if your plan is to join NASA and become an astronaut, this is not the time to broadcast it. Because if they find out that you're just here for a short haul, you will not get the job. And if things change, they change. This is not about lying. If you like the job, you'll be there for 5 years. When I joined Morgan Stanley, I didn't know I was going to be there for 19 years. Yeah. Okay. There are other sort of behavioral questions, yeah, which they will ask. And it is, to do with teamwork, problem solving, conflict resolution, how you handle the failure, leadership, if your position is with to do with leadership, and also accomplishments. Again, the purpose is the past behavior. They want to see if some of the challenges they're having, you actually faced them, how you dealt with them, and because they feel that the future behavior, the past behavior predicts the future behavior. And also premise, the interview wishes to seek an understanding of your past experience. This is another way of trying to get more details. And also, obviously, if you have used the SOAS, stories, or STAR, you will have a success factor for any of the most important topics or behavioral questions they're going to ask you. Okay, I think the last one is how to handle the salary expectation, and this is again this is where a lot of our ladies, and actually it's not only Black ladies, even white ladies, the pay gap between men and women is big, partly because of this. Now, if you are moving jobs, it's your chance to get a good salary increase. So obviously, this is not the sole focus of looking for a job. If you're looking for a job for money, that's a wrong way to look for it. There's a wrong motive to look for a job for money. You need to look for a job which you enjoy doing. Money is something that comes as a product, as a byproduct for that. However, if you enjoy it, it's good for you to be paid handsomely for it. Yeah. So if the manager, first and foremost, this should never come from you as an interviewee. You should not go, especially in the first, in the sort of beginning sessions of your interview, and start asking how much is this role going to pay? Yeah, I had an interview. I was having a one-to-one with one of my directs in North America, and then she said, I need my salary need to increase up to. She said a figure that's it's almost like 50% more than she's getting. And I looked and said, how did she get that figure even? Yeah. So when the hiring manager asks you that question, they want to find out if they can afford you. They also want to find out if you know your worth. So in your preparations, you need to, when you find out about the company, find out their pay scales. LinkedIn Learning has some pay scales guidance. I think there are some other websites which I have forgotten the name. Find out how they pay for your position. If you're going for an interview, one of the things you should have found out is how much does this role attract, and also know, because of your education, your experience, and whatever, how much that is going to attract. Also, don't be shy to go to the top end of the scale. The other thing, of course, is when they ask you, the first time, what you don't want is to, if they may ask you and then you say, what is, you can actually go back if you're not ready to talk about salaries. It will come anyway. You have to answer that question. You can say, I'm more interested in the career and that type of stuff. I see, I know, like for example, before you can say, I know you pay fairly. I know your company has good pay scales, and we can come to that later if it is in the first the area in your interview. If they insist for you to give them maybe they are impressed with you and they want to know. So you do not give them a specific number. Give them a salary range. Break it into two parts. If the salary attracts a base and bonus, break it into two parts. Let's say, for example, it is, let's say it's 100,000 for argument's sake. You just say, okay, I will, obviously you've researched your role. You say, I'm looking for about 70 to 80,000 base and about maybe 20 to 30,000 bonus. Yeah. So, it's if they're asking you for a reason, so don't shy away from it. And don't, and if you don't prepare for this, it will be a surprise to you. If they ask this question and you haven't thought about it, you haven't done your research, and if you have done a research, basically tell them, I've done a research, I've used the LinkedIn, I've used this website and whatever. I think my position and my skills, I think I'm worth this, and give them a range. Yeah, I think, so these are the checkpoints I talked about. I think I've actually taken longer than I expected. I'll open up for questions. And thank you so much for listening. Questions?
Thank you.
And there's no, I'll tell you, I'm more than happy to share my experiences. So, any questions is okay. And if I don't know, I'll tell you, I'll find out.
I've got a question.
Okay.
When they ask you about referring to your current salary or your previous salary, what do you say if you don't want to, basically, you want to jump to best salary?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. One thing I forgot probably to say is that when you spend a long time with a company, your salary doesn't match the market increases. And I can tell you, when I was in Morgan Stanley, I was underpaid for maybe 10, maybe 15 years. I was being underpaid. So when the current job came to me, and I was in Rwanda, that's where I did my telephone interview with the head of global head of commodities. And after that, then HR came to me and asked me, so we want you to send me. They actually didn't ask me what I want to be paid. They asked me, can you send us your past 3 years' salary so we can actually see how much we can offer? I told them, absolutely not. And I was very, very honest. I said, because I've been in Morgan Stanley for a long, long time, I've been underpaid. My pay scale hasn't gone up the same as the market value. So, I am not going to send you this information, and I don't want it to be part of the things you use to decide my salary. So, and I did give them what I was expecting. I was expecting from them. I don't know if I've asked your question. So you
yes,
can,
wondering. Can you? Is it in your discretion to tell them no, basically? To give it.
No. You have to have a reason. You can't say just no, but you just tell them, I'm afraid when I took my previous role, I actually was being underpaid. And my salary, when I stayed there, hasn't actually increased to the market. One of the it hasn't matched the valuation how I value myself. So you don't say no, I don't want to give it to you. You just say I don't want it to be one of the things you use to determine my pay.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That answers the question. Thank you.
Okay.
So would you say that what they're ultimately doing, they have a job to do as HR. Sometimes the hiring manager is out of his control. Ultimately, they have a person they're looking for and they're looking to bring someone in. Yes, they have a budget, but at the same time, their main role or HR's main role is to be as efficient as and bring someone in who is, say they're offering a role between 40 to 50 and you're trying to aim for 55. Is there a position where you can try to, you don't tell them the range, but you can tell them a range, but at the same time, isn't it best placed to get them to come to you and to ask what your expectations, and then you essentially begin the negotiations based on a higher value, so that you already know they're going to go down. Okay, so are you in a position where you're trying to say, okay, let me increase by, let's say, 15%, 15K more, so that you begin negotiations from that stance, rather than just giving them one value? What would you say?
Yeah, if say you're looking for 50,000, don't give them a range up to 50,000. They always come down. They always bring you down. Yeah. So when you give them a range, obviously, I'm assuming you've done your due diligence. You have found out how much such a position pays. And by the way, if, in your research, you can talk to people who are in the company if you can, and ask them how they pay. However, when you give them a range, always give them a range over and above your top ask, your highest ask. Say, for example, if you want 50,000, you need to be able to go up to 65, and they're going to come down. They'll bring you down. If you say 50, they will not give you 50. They will actually try to bring you down by a bit. Think about it. They're interested in you working, but they are interested in they're not interested in underpaying you. They are not underpaying you as such, because we have what we call basically the minimum we pay. Say, for example, in my team, I know how much I need to pay an analyst or an officer, then an assistant vice president and a vice president. So there is a minimum, but also there is basically there is the top, the limit, where I say, if you are a VP, you cannot exceed this. So basically what you are trying to do is within your sort of level, you want to be pegged to the highest. And let me say this, sometimes they tell you, you want 50, they say, okay, we are going to give you 40, and then you'll be getting 10, we can give you 10 as a bonus. A bonus is a bonus. It doesn't mean if you get it this year, you get it next year. So your best is your bread and butter. So try to push your best as high as possible. Yeah. And then if actually they are very impressed with you, they have some flexibility. Obviously, you don't basically sort of, expect a very big difference.
Thank you very much. That's answered my question. I have one follow-up question.
Okay.
In IT in particular, I work in IT. We've always been told never get too comfortable in your position, and you should be in a place where there's only so much you can reach in terms of your progression. And as we know, there is politics to be played, and at times you feel like the longer you're there, as you've mentioned, you're underpaid, because actually what happens is you take on more responsibilities. It's a natural thing. And then when it comes to promotion, yes, you might be promoted, but at the same time, there's only so far up you can go. I've been in situations where they say, you've reached your the maximum,
Your ceiling, yeah.
as manager. And that's what happens. And I look at my manager, he looks at me, and he knows I'm a great employee, but at the same time, it's out of their hands, and it's a natural thing. And at times, you just have to say, okay, I've done all I can here. You walk away. So essentially, the question I have is, where is the? Because I know you were at Morgan Stanley for 20 years. Did you not ever feel like, okay, I think I've reached the top, do I need to move? Or would you advise, of course, there are things that you gain more than money, but at the same time, is it still worth the case of saying, okay, I've reached my capabilities, I'm not really gaining anything, I'm actually giving more than I'm taking, I need to draw the line and then move on. As you move on, you begin to take on more, and you're reflected financially as well, which is ultimately one of the key reasons why we're working in the first place. So would you advise to continue on that strategy and not to get too comfortable and make, attachments quick early?
Okay, let me first of all say that my stay in Morgan Stanley for 19 years was a mistake. And I tell you why it was a mistake. It was a mistake because of circumstances. I got married when I was a student. Had children before I even started getting a job. So circumstances sometimes force you to stay in a position. And the other thing I was stubborn because I had already established with Morgan Stanley, I don't have to work on Friday evening, I don't have to work on Saturday. And I thought if I go somewhere else, I'll be forced to work, or I'll start now again negotiating. So my stay, I would say the ideal years you stay in a company before your pay suffers is 4 years. Unless obviously there are some exceptions where they actually like you, you have a good manager, and they continue sort of promoting you and increasing your salary. 4 years, as soon as you hit 4 years, if you haven't been promoted, I'm talking about sort of like officer promotion, from an officer to, let's say, AVP, then to AVP, then to VP, then maybe to senior vice president, and then to maybe executive director. If you haven't, there are people who actually stay in the same company and actually move, and the salary move with them because they can negotiate it. However, 4 years, and when I hit 4 years at Morgan, first of all, let me step back a bit. The first 3 years, I was working as a consultant at Morgan Stanley. So really, the time I was, the time I become permanent, I stayed for, if you look at 19 years minus 3, it is about 16 years. Yeah. So 16 years is how long I was, but that was a long, long time. Yeah. To give you some idea, if you have been in a company for 10, 12 years and you haven't had a decent increase in salary, you could be being paid 50% less, or 50% less than you are supposed to be paid. And the way they manage it is, in most investment companies, and I know for the company you work for as well, the pay is confidential. Nobody will tell you how much they are being paid. Nobody will tell you how much other people, even people you are sitting with, you won't know how much they are being paid for. In Morgan Stanley, if I told somebody what I'm being paid, I would be fired. Yeah. So I know I'm going around and around answering this question. If you have been, if there are circumstances, like for you people, some of you who are young, you need to be able to take risks in order to advance your career and also be remunerated for it. For me, when looking at the Morgan Stanley, I'm going to leave. First of all, there was the economic downtime, 2008. There was economic crisis. And then you say, I'm going to leave it. I'm basically sort of, I have 4 children. If I leave it and don't get a job, what happens? And also, you have a partner. I have my wife who says, be careful. You may leave it and never get another job quickly. So there is two people making decisions, and you just think, if I make a decision when my wife hasn't agreed and turns out bad, then what am I going to say? Yeah, so that's why I stayed in Morgan Stanley for a long, long time. So I would advise is to advance your career, review your role every 4 years. 6 years, 7 years, yes. But going 10, 12, unless you're so happy about what you're doing and you're enjoying it and you can't change, that's fine. But if you have a feeling saying, I'm being underpaid, I'm not being recognized the way I'm supposed to be recognized, and I probably know enough about this job and I'm not learning, that's a good sign that you should move on. Anyway, I don't know if I've answered your question.
I can add something,
Yes.
if you may. Jonathan, is it Jonathan?
Yes.
Who was asking the question?
Yes, it's another Jonathan.
Yes. Jonathan, I've been in IT for over 20 years. And to be honest, I don't know how many IT roles I've done in the last 20 years. I can roughly say I've been to so many. I've been a contractor, I've been a permanent employee, I've seen it all. My advice to you is like this. If you're working, if you have a job, it's permanent, and your manager thinks you're a very good employee, and you think you deserve more, you yourself should say, what is my argument? Why should I earn more than X in my team or my department? And you have to really have a justification for it. Now, your boss may help you, maybe be one of the persons to get you promoted within the company, but your boss shouldn't be the person who should determine your future. You should, on the side, do your own investigation. Just try to look around, say, okay, I'm a team leader, I'm a manager, or I'm this and that in this team, and I've got this set of skills that are required in this type of job. One thing IT does and pays more for is having those unique skills that no one wants to touch. Because if you go for, the standard skills, okay, for me, I've gone through networking, databases, and, recently I'm now into security, but I just realized that security also has some unique set of skills that will just make you so different from the others. You have to really look at these unique skills that are required for your role and self-train or look for some course and train yourself or get trained or get a company train you. And then once you get that certificate, once you are sure that you the only one in the whole team that has those set of skills, advertise yourself, not your boss. Advertise yourself to your HR, to LinkedIn, and you just make sure that everybody can see that even though you've worked for this company for 4 years, or this team for 4 years, or for 2 years, or for 1 year, you have one more skill that no one else has. So when you go for an interview, whether it's an internal interview or external interview, you should be able to say, while I was doing this job, I was doing this, and this is the proof. You should always be ahead of the game. And you should not actually tell your boss can actually get you so far. He doesn't want you to pass it. He doesn't want to report to you because you've been reporting to him. You should always tell your HR, by the way, I went through this, and this is, you show them the certificate, they should take a record of it. Because when it comes to bonuses and whatever, when they've got a new role, or if the senior boss leaves, you could be a candidate. But with IT, you always have to learn, because new things are coming up every day. You should have so many skills that puts you ahead of the others, because IT engineers or IT personnel are always they tend to get comfortable. If you're a network engineer, you know, uh, it's the usual thing. You go and do it. That's it. But you should always, every day, you should add something. They say that if you really want to get too far into IT, you should be multiple skilled. You should really be ahead of everyone. Look at whoever you work with, try to be 2 or 4 skills better than them. And always make sure that they know it, or put it out there online. You will not need to actually apply for a job. You're going to be headhunted. You will be headhunted, because with IT, every time when there is a new skill, there are people who look for you. They will actually offer you silly money to leave the current job you're working on. So always upskill yourself. Get one more certificate that no one else has. Make sure that you add it to your name, and then the sky's the limit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I just to add on to that, I think that's about self-development, and it's not just IT, it's all the and thank you so much, yours. It's every profession. I think one of the things that you need to do is do self-development. I do tell my team to do self-development. I'm actually a manager who promotes mobility, and I do ask them to, if they want to move, if I can't keep you, I can help you move. The whole idea, the thing though is, stepping back a bit, is there are companies where if the role you are changed to a internal role, they don't actually increase your salary. You don't get a salary increase as a part of internal move. So, and as Jose has said, yeah, sometimes we get job, and there are some job hunters out there. In actual sense, up to now, even if I got a job, I normally get a lot of mails and stuff at my level, and I normally forward it to other people. However, what I'm trying to say is, yes, self-development is the key, not just for IT, for every discipline. Do not get into a job and get into it and do it in there, day in, day out, and forget yourself. You are the best person to look after you is you. Yeah. And if you don't look after yourself, nobody is going to look after you. I think David, before you come in, David has raised his hand. Before you come in, it is critically important that it's critically important to, if you look for a job while you have a job, don't wait until you have been made redundant or you've lost your job to look for a job. It's always easy to look for a job when you have a job, because there you don't have the pressures of I'm paying bills and that type of stuff. So okay, David.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. So I have a few things to say. So on salaries, actually, like you mentioned websites. So there are a few websites that you can use. I know, for example, number one is Glassdoor.
Yes, that's
so basically what this is, like you mentioned before, you can type in, so say for example, if there's a particular role that you're looking for, let's say for argument's sake, like a marketing director. So you can go on Glassdoor, type in marketing director, and you can even go for location. So obviously London is more likely to pay more than, I don't know, up north. So you can even look at the location, and then it will give you a range of the estimated salary based on the role. So that can kind of give you an idea of, okay, someone who's a market director who works in London gets X amount of money. So then you have something, you have a base to, so when you're negotiating your salary, obviously it depends on the experience and stuff like that, more of the time, but at least you have something to start with instead of just plucking a figure in the air. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to say was, do you, when you interview people, is it frowned upon? Because especially for young people, we like to change our careers a lot. So some people might have, like, let's say 4 jobs, but like 2 years in each job or 3 years in each job. Is that in the industry, when you're interviewing, is that frowned upon to just keep on moving around? Because it can work in your advantage, saying that you're picking different skills from different companies, even though it's the same role. But then in your disadvantage, it shows that you're inconsistent. So maybe when someone wants to employ you, they might think, oh, this person might jump in 2 years and go somewhere else, and they've been investing all this money in you. So is that, like, in the industry, is it frowned upon, just keep on moving jobs?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, there is, it attracts some negativity if you have been in a job with 2 years here, 2 years there. And, unless you have a good explanation for it. If you have a good explanation, let's say, for example, you take a job and within those 2 years, something happened that was not anticipated. Let's say, for example, it was taken over by another company, or your job changed, your job role changed. You basically need to have an explanation if you have spent in companies for 2 years or less. Yeah. So that is because they feel that they will give you a job. And to be quite honest, if say for example, I hired you, it would take you a good 6 months before you actually start before I start even getting anything from you. You are still learning, you are still being trained and that type of stuff. And then after 1 year, within 1 year, you are just now started returning very, very basic. And then if for 2 years you're going, it actually costs to me, and I wouldn't want that. So, 4 years is good. Actually, after anything over 2 years is okay. The one thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to mention as well, is gaps in your CV. If you have worked, say for example, there was some, you worked until 1998, sort of like 2006. And then, let me say, most of you are young, 2012, and then it didn't work for an year, and then came into work and that type of stuff. You need to have a good explanation to address those gaps. And don't lie. However, if you actually took time off to, say, for family reasons, to travel or to do something, be clear and say it. Yeah. What the interviewers or hiring managers don't want is to have those gaps that are not explained. And also, don't wait until you are in an interview to get the explanation. Because when they ask you, you don't want any question about your career to be a surprise. So you need to make sure you prepare to explain the gaps. If you've been made redundant, a long time ago, being made redundant was like frowned upon. You be clear and tell them you're made redundant. It's commonplace now. So, don't fear, don't basically, don't shy away from telling people you are made redundant, but make sure you have you prepared a good explanation, no lies, but be authentic. In all this, you need to be authentic. If you're authentic and you're truthful, God will be with you. David, have I answered your question or?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Somebody had opened their Sharon, you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you so much for the talk. It was very, very informative. One of the things that you stressed was packaging your stories or your star into a story. Can you elaborate more on how you can talk about your experiences and your strengths in terms of a story, but without sounding anecdotal, like without making it sound like you're talking to a friend and you're very casual? Like, how can you still be professional while you're still, giving that storyline?
Okay. I think one thing I tell the people in my team, and I actually do have, I have about 40 people who report to me, but 4 people report to me, and for those 4 people, other people report to them. I tell them if when they are doing the achievements, when they are working, they need to bear in mind on the achievements, and they have to put it in a story. Situation, challenges or obstacles, action, and then results. Because if you do it as you work, as you do, then you will have a big portfolio of your achievements. Now, secondly, you need to put it in business language. I know some people who do IT, or you become, you make it in the technical jargon. You need to make it. If there is money saved, let's say, for example, let me give you an example. After 2008, we were forced to reduce headcount. Yeah, I actually thought I was one of the people to go. And we were about 7, I had 7 people in London. That was in 2000 after 2008. I had 3 people in Singapore. Then there were people in my team reporting somebody else who were about 12 in New York. Now, we were supposed to reduce, there'll be 1 person in London, no person in Singapore, and 1 person in New York to cut costs. Yeah. So you can say now, situation. I tell you, we have to save money, we have to reduce headcount. And what action did I do? We look for now cheap labor, and we had to outsource in India. So for India, people I was hiring in India, 1 person, 3 people would be paid less than 1 person in London. Yeah. And Singapore was the most expensive. So we had actually to get, or the trading floor will be supported from Chennai in India. So how do I, so that the situation is we have to save money. We don't have money to pay people. Obstacles is we can't hire people. We have a lot of work to do. So we need people. So hire people. So I decided to transition those functions to India. Yeah, and go and train them, and then save the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that is exactly how you need to tie it down to somebody who's giving you a job. They have $sign in their head. Yeah, you need to tie it down to either preventing a loss, efficiency, saving money, and also obviously, making the company money as well. Because you can make company money. I'll give you another example. When I earlier in my career in Morgan Stanley, we had 24 traders who are trading government and corporate bonds. The task we were given is to automate some of the trading in such a way that we reduce the trader. Now, it's not reducing my staff, it's reducing the clients that I'm serving. Yeah. So we automated, the pricing, the pricing, the order placement, the order execution, and the order coming back. So in actual sense, we found that 80% of the trades we were doing, they didn't have even no single trader interfacing with the trade. So in about a couple of years, we reduced the traders from 21 to about 7. So now, situation. We have to save company money. We have to reduce the number of traders. And those traders were earning a lot of money by automating. So actually did work on automation project. and then get, first of all, there's efficiency. Secondly, it costs less. Computers, believe me or not, computers make better decisions, especially in some sort of routine things. And 80% of our trades were not being touched by any trader. And actually, since I went to my boss and told him, I say, look at it this way. We are having 80 trades not touched by a trader. Don't you think that P&L should be under our names? And my boss looked at me and just laughed. But you know, that's how that's the way you need to package it. Obviously, it's different from the position you are in. If you are HR, you will talk about maybe training people, retaining staff, yeah, because you know you have a lot of attrition in terms of staff. You do something to arrest the rate of people leaving. So you need to tie it back to what is in it for the company.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, hi. My name is Shema. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for giving us this talk. And I just wanted to ask quickly, I graduated this year, and I was trying to find out whether or not I should go on to study, like maybe for a master's, or to get straight right into business. I mean, work experience. Initially, I'd leaned more onto getting experience so I can actually know what I'd like to do, maybe find out what exactly my skills are. But on the other side, I was thinking that maybe I should go do a master's and maybe something in MBA so that at least I have some leverage when I'm going for interviews. So I just wanted to ask your opinion on whether you should go and after university, should you go and study more because now everyone has an undergraduate, or should you go and get work experience because now that's what a lot of companies ask for? So that's my question.
Okay, I would put it this way. If I have a chance to get experience and I can study part-time when I'm studying, I would go for that. Now, if I don't have a job and I'm likely to spend 1 year at home instead of doing a master's, I would go and do a master's. Because a master's, when you get a master's, let me tell you when I got married, as I said, when I was still a student, I came back here and there was a lot of unemployment. And think about it, by the time I had a bachelor's in science, majoring in mathematics, a postgraduate in mathematics, a master's in mathematics. And I was when there was unemployment in 1991, the rate of unemployment, you can go and look it up, was the highest in the history of this country, So a lot of people are losing jobs, and I was looking for a job. Yeah. Every single job I went for, the people who are interviewing me or my hiring manager didn't have a master's. Now, you become a threat to somebody who is hiring you because they're going to say, this person has a master's, I don't have a master's, but if he comes here and knows what I know, they're going to take over my job. But if you get a master's, when you're working, you actually grow into the role, and also you actually decide, you can decide now if the role becomes, sort of you hit the ceiling, you can decide to move. But if the experience, you cannot buy experience. Let me tell you one thing, you cannot buy experience. Just stepping up, some of you, and I'm not going to, this is not putting people who are in university down. When we are interviewing people for a job, when I was at Morgan Stanley, we used to say we are going to Morganize them. Morganize them meaning empty them of whatever they have learned and teach them how to work for Morgan Stanley. So what you have learned in terms of subject matter does not matter at all in my field. Yeah, it is we used to get people and send them to New York for 3 months so they can now be emptied of all the bad habits they have gained at the university, and then be given, be modeled in such a way that they can become contributive value. I can tell you one thing, I tell you, somebody we gave a job in technology had done history. History was her subject. We gave them a job in technology. I just want to show you this. So what most people are looking for attitude, learning being able to learn, and having a customer service mindset. If you have those, all those, yes, you have learned English, you have learned how to write and whatever. There are some, obviously there are some professions like medicine and whatever, maybe there are some disciplines, but in terms of technology, as long as you have somebody who can learn fast, who can actually have an ability to learn very quickly and have a good positive attitude, then you are done. You can teach. You cannot teach people attitude, but you can give them skills. And that's mostly what people are looking for in a lot of professions.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anything else? I know we are running out of time because we have some other program coming at 6 o'clock. We can do, by the way, we can do this personal branding. Personal branding ties in this very, very nicely. Yeah, because personal branding is about who you are and being able to determine what your brand is now, what you want your brand to be, and steps to get from where you are to where you want to be. But we still have 10 minutes if there's any other questions.
Yes. Hello, Jonathan. My name is Bob. I am very thankful for this talk so far. I have a quick question. Mine is more direction-wise and which way to go. And you've obviously been in finance for a long time, and you've seen that trajectory. And my question is, if a person, for example, myself, I would love to end up into a full-time entrepreneurial role, doing my own thing, maybe somewhere around fintech. And I've been in the finance area doing advisory, M&A, and investment banking, but I may be getting an opportunity into management consulting. And I wanted to ask, which route do you think would help me more in the long run to establish a good entrepreneurial, say, career that really helps me in terms of creativity, networking. I'm also young in my career, so it's not like I've done any of them for a long time. But which one do you think 5-10 years from now, which track do you think would lead me to that point?
Yeah, but personally, I think that just stepping back a bit, when I was growing up at O level university, I used to work because I was looking after. I used to actually look after my siblings and my parents because, as I said, we are in poor background. And if I hadn't come to this country, maybe I would have actually been an entrepreneur. And because I had a business when I was actually a student in Kampala. So having a business and being able to employ people, you cannot compare it with any job whatsoever. Yeah. Now, to have a business as well, you need the skills to manage the business. Now, I would say, Bob, from what you have just said, has the experience, what you've done so far, been able to put you at a strong footing to be able to say, I can actually open a company, I can be a director, I can actually employ people, and I can do this and this and this and this? If yes, great. If not, that management consultancy, if you always have to look for your next job, you need to look for, you actually sort of like, and this is coming in a branding, you need to look 5 years ahead and actually imagine you are there where in 5 years in the future, and then look back and say, okay, what do I need to do? What are the basically what do I need to do to get there? Yeah. Now, if the management consultancy is the way is going to give you the skills to even manage to be able to be a better entrepreneur, I would do it first. Yeah, I would do it first, but with an aim of opening my own business in fintech. I that's one of the areas I wanted to come to do in Rwanda, but I can probably talk offline and tell you exactly some of the challenges I faced. But obviously, I was coming from here going to Rwanda, so
Right.
yeah.
No, thank you so much, and I'd love to talk about that.
Switch off. I'm talking.
No problem. Okay, listen, I think we are running out of time.
Yes. I just wanted to jump in and say something about what probably either Bob has said, or even Shema in Nairobi. Sometimes when you've just finished university, unless you are really going for experience and get a good company in experience, that's very, very fine, Shema, before you go to your master's, as Elder Jonathan has said. And also for Bob, we got quite a lot of young people who finish uni with very good ideas and they want to go into business. They want to be consultants. They have plans. However, a lot of it depends. You find that somebody maybe is going to Nairobi, or is going to Kigali, or is going to Kampala, going somewhere, or even in these countries here like Western Europe. And for you to pick up, one, you will need probably a big capital. You will need marketing. You are competing with the big companies, and probably your income is not much. So sometimes, and most times, maybe as Elder Jonathan says, you might pick up and talk to some guys who have those ideas. It is important to get employment and build your career. You are still young. You don't have responsibilities, a lot of responsibility. No family is attached, so you can build your career somewhere. At the same time, beginning to think of how to start your entrepreneurship on site. But it would be very helpful if you went into a career and you got employment, or go somewhere, get some steady income, instead of leaving that, however small that income is. So thank you very much. I was wondering, Elder Jonathan, do we have some questions on the chat before we dismiss this? Or is there anybody who has
somebody? There is David Rutagingirwa who has his hand up.
Oh, David, please. Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Elder Jonathan. I really enjoyed your talk. And, so the things that you talked about, I've experienced both from the interviewees' side of the table and from the interviewer's side of the table. And I just can't tell you how much I really identify with what you described. What Shema asked and what Bob asked, these are things I also struggled with immediately I had graduated. And I was wondering, so what do I do? Do I work? Do I go for my master's? And I went for graduate school 3 years after I had started working. And what I realized is that if I had started my master's earlier, it would have actually been better, because in technology, especially, and in these days, the way industries actually change quite fast, I found out that it is quite advantageous when you still have the steam or the momentum from college to graduate school. You are able to continue, and you don't struggle, starting over, because when you have started working and then you stop and go to school, there is a bit of adjustment. So to Shema, if you have an opportunity, if you have someone that is going to fund your graduate school, I would say grab that opportunity and go to graduate school.
Yes, sir.
Depending, you'll actually learn from what you have done in your undergrad studies, what you really enjoy most, and that will guide you to pursue your graduate studies in something that you'll enjoy doing after you graduate. However, if the opportunity is not there, like for me, I had to work first for me to get, a scholarship to study, then you work first. But I wouldn't pass the opportunity of going to graduate school for working, because when you go to graduate school immediately after you graduate from college, you have an advantage, because what you studied in the recent past is applicable to what you're going to study in graduate school. So you don't waste time, and you're able to continue the momentum, because after you graduate, you've been in the school system, and that steam is still there. So that's just what I wanted to point out. But if you don't have the resources right now, then getting a good job and actually funding your studies as you work is recommendable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I actually forgot that when you talk about scholarship and traveling, I sometimes forget that people are actually in Nairobi and Rwanda, and they can't actually do the postgraduate. I guess when you say graduate, you say postgraduate. Postgraduate when they are actually working. Because people who are in the US or in the Western world, in the UK and whatever, you can actually be able to go to do evening classes and yet have the job. So that's where I was talking about, if you have the job, you can actually, it's good to do both of them at the same time. But if you are in Kenya, you are in Rwanda, and you have to go either do it full time or not, then obviously, and things have changed, by the way, now from when I graduated. There's so many people with masters than when we are. So anyway, we have run out of time. But thank you so much for attending, and we're going to organize another one for branding, because I thought I underestimated how much time it's going to take, and I realized this morning as I was preparing. But thank you so much. Over to you, Sentenga, with your closing remarks.
Yes, Bob, can you do closing remarks for us?
Sure. Thank you so much, Elder Sentenga, for orchestrating this session, and also thank you so much, Elder Jonathan, for giving us the knowledge and all your experience and advice. We really appreciate it. I feel as if youth need to really hear what other people that have gone through the same steps as we're going through have experienced, with a hindsight point of view and with also a futuristic point of view. So thank you so much. We're really grateful, and we hope that we'll have another session such as this one next time. And branding is also a great thing, just as Sharon also asked earlier about storytelling. Storytelling is important in branding, and people need to give people a brief understanding of what you've experienced and where you're going. So I feel like branding session would be great as well. So thank you so much on behalf of everyone who's been listening. I'm sure we've all received different points here and there, and I would love to invite everyone to the next session. I don't know if we should have a closing word of prayer. Maybe that would be great.
Yes, we do. Let's close a word of prayer.
Yes, Father in heaven, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for giving us this community where we can share our concerns and also advise for some who have more experience. And thank you so much for everyone who put this together. Bless them and help us to put these things we've studied and learned into practice, and help us to especially trust you to lead our lives in whichever will you would have us lead our lives, because your will is the most important, even against all advice. So help us to follow your will in our lives personally, is my humble prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. And have a blessed evening.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank everyone who attended.